everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a 4D butterfly where the wings move. This is my second try or my improved version, but it's still not perfect, so I may have to do a third one of these to really try to get the wings to have the movement that I want them to, but it's pretty good and it's better than the first one. If you do want to watch the video of how I did the first one from a while ago, I can put a link to that in the description box below, but otherwise I hope you enjoy this one and I'll see you all next time. Bye! Bye.
I'm going to begin with an overlay of a shimmery blue acrylic. This particular blue, the glitter that is inside it, isn't one that the glitter would get silvery or gray looking when you file it. It's one where the glitter would basically just file off with the acrylic. So I'm not going to encapsulate it because that's going to make the rest of the steps of this a little more difficult. I am now going to use this flat jewelry wire. So this is not cylindrical like typical jewelry wire. This is going to be perfect for what we're trying to do. And I'm going to just kind of hold one of these pieces up and I'm going to measure how wide it is on my nail, and I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie that is a color that I will be able to see, and then I'm going to mark off the width of two of the pieces of the wire together. After I have that, I'm going to begin carving that box I created that is the width and length of the wire. After I have that carved, I'm going to make sure that two pieces do fit in it, and I'm going to file the nail with an E-file just to smooth out the rest of the shape of the nail, make sure it's not, lumpy or bumpy or anything like that. Now I'm going to bend one of my pieces of wire in an L shape. I'm going to fit that into the nail, make sure it moves through there, give it a little wiggle, see how that works. Bend it again, so now we have a C shape. Once again, fit that in there, see how that works. Does that go in and out? Bend it a little bit open at an angle, bend that down. The final shape of the wire that we need looks like that. And I'll show them to you again a little bit slower so you can really get an idea of what complete shape we're going for. Bend your second piece of wire to match the first one. Hold them next to each other so that you can grab it where it needs to be bent and hopefully get it to match very, very closely. After you have both your pieces of wire bent, they look, I don't even know what, I like to give like a letter, like, oh, it looks just like an S. It is kind of like an S. It's a little bit more of a crunchy S. It's a little more angular, but this is the shape that we're going for. You can kind of get an idea there. Fit one of the pieces of wire through, then fit the other one through. It is a little awkward to get the second piece in to where you want it to go. They do fit. It's just that they don't want to fit by both going in together simultaneously. So get the one in, and then you might have to work the other one from the bottom up. That's what I found, one from the top, one from the bottom, and then I could get them to go in. Once they're in there, cut off the extra wire from the bottom, which is about leaving maybe in 3/4 of an inch or a centimeter and a half. And then you're going to still keep bending them until you're really happy with the shape. You want to make sure that the area that is within that opening has a curve more so instead of like a hard angled line. That's going to help the movement, help the little pieces from getting stuck on each other. You want to make sure that they just move with some fluid motion instead of not fluid motion. So fit them both in there. It does work a little easier to go from the bottom up instead of from the top down. And then after you have them in there, they look a little bit crazy. They look like frog legs to me, like little silly frog legs. Grab a piece of a spring. This is a spring that I took from a pen. So anytime I have a pen that stops working, runs out of ink, etc., I take the spring out of it, and I'm going to attach the spring to the inside of one of the pieces of wire. So this is the side away from the end point, and you're just going to really secure that spring on there. Keep both pieces inside the nail after this point, and you're going to attach the spring to the other side. I found Acrygel was the best thing to get the spring attached immediately, but then using something like a acrylic that's a little bit more durable was the right fix for a more permanent hold. But the Acrygel did a great job of keeping the spring in place while cured, and just to keep it before you could get the acrylic on there. Apply just a ton of acrylic around this. You don't want it to break. After you have that done, set this to the side, give yourself a pat on the back because that was quite the apparatus to just make. And now you're going to be making your butterfly. Have fun with this. This is the fun part. That first part is a little bit more like frustrating and nerve-wracking because it's just so putsy to make it. But now that you get to make the butterfly, draw a template on a piece of scratch paper, lay a nail form backing over the top of it, and I'm first going to draw the beginning or sculpt the beginning part of my butterfly with clear acrylic for strength. That way I can do whatever I want on top of it. I don't have to worry about how thick it is or anything else because this first step is done, and it is done in a way that I know is going to be strong enough to hold up to what I plan to do with this butterfly. I am going to make my butterfly pink and purple. You can make your butterfly whatever colors you want. Obviously, a monarch is just a classic, typical choice. They're just so iconic and, I don't know, hopeful, I guess. Probably a good word for it, at least for me. And then after we have the purple, after I do the purple, I'm going to do the pink. But like I said, whatever kind of butterfly colors suit your fancy, they don't have to be realistic. In fact, it's probably more fun if they're not realistic. At least I feel that way. I'm going to be adding all of my colors, make sure that my wings are fairly smooth so that they're easy to paint on. And then I'm going to flip my paper over. I'm going to redraw the lines that I want to keep in my butterfly template. The great thing with this pen that I use is that it does soak through so I can see my drawings from the other side. They're not quite dark enough where I think I could see them easily without applying that little second coat of pen on top of it, but it does make it so that I know that my template is going to be matching from side to side. Repeat the butterfly sculpting process, clear base, pink and purple, clear top. The thing to watch at this point is to make sure that your coloration is very similar from side to side, which if you've ever drawn a butterfly should be something that you are familiar with doing. But after you are done with your butterfly, go ahead and file the edges if there's anything that's a little bit rough or uneven. It shouldn't be too bad with the template system. But now I'm going to attach the wings to my flying apparatus with more of the Acrygel. I'm going to use just a smidge of Acrygel on the very end of my wire. That way I don't have the risk of accidentally gluing the two pieces of wire together. Cure that and apply clear acrylic over the back. Same thing. Don't be afraid to use lots of clear acrylic. We want to make sure that this isn't going to fall apart. This whole project is one of those where just the figuring it out and getting all the pieces to fit together properly is so, I don't know, nerve-wracking, because you don't know if it's going to work, that you don't want it to break on you right away. So make sure that it's plenty secured. On a straw, I'm going to sculpt the body part of my butterfly with a blue acrylic, a darker indigo type blue. This piece needs to fit up and over the center with all of that wire bit so that you don't see it. So make sure that it is big enough and curvy enough to do that, to touch both sides of the nail, go up and over without hindering the movement. Then you're going to secure that with more of your darker blue indigo type acrylic. Sculpt the other of your butterfly's body pieces, and then leave that piece to the side and make sure that this is attached on both sides. I had just first attached it on the one side, let that cure, and then I'm going to attach it on the other side. This is the area towards the butterfly's head. Make sure that that's not going to move anywhere. And if at any point as you're sculpting this, you want to make sure that your butterfly does move, we give it a little test squeeze to make sure that your spring and everything is moving the way that you want it to. Grab your butterfly butt, make sure it's the right size. Mine was a little too long, and attach that to the back of your butterfly's thorax. There you go. Hold that in place. And then after that acrylic begins to set and cure, then you can smooth it out if you want to with more of the dark blue color acrylic. Once that has been done and it looks pretty good, grab a small piece of jewelry wire that is very thin and cylinder normal round wire and bend it at the center to make a V shape. You're going to hold the point of the V to where your butterfly's head is going to be, attach it to the nail with your blue acrylic. After you just get it attached, hold it in place until it begins to seem like it's going to stay where you put it. If you're happy with the amount of acrylic sculpted on your butterfly's body, then you can start doing the next stage, which is going to be the painting. Whenever I paint a butterfly specifically, I always like to do one step on the right and then one step on the left, or vice versa, left, right, right, left, either way. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I go back and forth and I'll do, more steps on one side and then kind of alternate where I start and stop each section. However, it's really good to not finish one whole side and then go to the other side, because they'll be a lot more symmetrical if you do them piece by piece together. So I'm just going to go in and fill in each of these sections. Look at pictures of butterflies if you aren't planning on mimicking a very specific species, but just look at different pictures of species that do exist to get a good idea of what's going to look realistic and correct versus what's going to end up looking kind of weird. Because every once in a while you'll paint something and you'll just not know why it looks wrong, but you know it looks wrong. I don't know if anybody's ever run into that particular issue, but I know I have. And you just look at it, like you can't quite pinpoint what the issue is. So give yourself a little head start by gathering some reference photos just as inspiration. And I'm going to do first my upper set of wings, and then I'm going to do the lower set of wings. As I'm doing the lower set of wings, I generally like to make them a little bit darker. So I'm going to start just with that that black band at the very edge and then fill them in with the spots. The way that I am doing this by kind of tracing the circles and then filling in around them makes it so that the ombre completed with the acrylic really nicely flows from one section of the butterfly onto the other, or one section of the spotting onto the other. And then after all of those are done, you can add some black onto the body just to give it some outlining. Use a dotting tool to add some dots to both the wings and onto the body if you'd like. This is where you can once again kind of have fun with it and enjoy your freedom. Whenever I'm doing something that's artsy and if I get inspiration from another artist or another place, I generally like to change it a little bit, make it my own, if you will. And one of the greatest things about a design like this one is that there are so many places where you are very easily able to do that. So that's one of those things that just, it's exciting and it's inspiring to have that opportunity to, get an idea from somebody, but make it yours. I'm going to give the ends of my antenna a little twist. First, I trim them to the same length so that they matched, but then twist them down into nice little curly cues. Now using gel paint, I'm going to paint over them. This is black gel paint, just so that they aren't that silver color. This is going to make them a little bit more visible. Apply some gel sealer over the background of the nail, making sure that I'm not going to touch any of the wire that might inhibit the butterfly from moving the way that I want it. And then after that has been applied, you can cure that and apply some 3D glaze over the top of the butterfly's wings. Same thing, making sure I just touch the butterfly's wings. And a little bit of that 3D glaze over the body too. But that's it. The butterfly is done. You can see the wings moving. They still don't have quite the movement that I'm hoping that they do, but they do move, which is the goal. If you do want to watch that first butterfly wing movement video that I have, I can put a link to it in the description box below. But otherwise, I hope this got the little gears in everybody's brains moving, and I can't wait to see what you come up with, and I will see you all next time. Bye.